Hey guys, welcome back to another news breakdown here on Soto Pop. Alright, as always, I'm your host, Frozen Stratos, and if you've been following the channel, you'll know that we took a break last week, so that means we have 2 weeks worth of Soto content to get through, but if you've already caught up from last week, I will put a time code in the description down below so you could jump over just to the newer news. But without further ado, let's hop right in to Shining Hopper. Now, this is going to be our first reveal, from last week, and also the last figure for AI03. First up, the blog wanted to talk about the chest and how much paint there is on all the fins to try to distract you from what's going on the chest. So the thing is here, as we've seen with Soto before, these details on the chest are a bit too intricate, a bit too small for paint to pick out. And even too small for just a regular one each sticker here. So they're gonna have to go in and do one whole sticker across the whole chest. It sucks, but I get it. This is just how it's gonna have to happen, and you know what? I accept it by now. Next up, we have the head. Again, same rigmarole here. Plenty of neon yellow paint. Even the eyes are painted, but those tiny details, those are all picked out with stickers. Same with the arms. Not really much to say here other than, hey, cool, it's only on the shoulders. Yay! And then, you know, same as what you'd expect on the belt itself, though there is a small change here that I'll let you try to figure out, but we'll talk about that in a sec. Next up, we have the legs, and this is where the stickers kind of lose me, because you kind of have to put them around the feet, and those are all curved. I'm not really into this, but again, I completely understand that this has to be, like, this is a logistical thing. This is just how it has to be, so fine, okay, I'll take it. Next up, like I was talking about, there's something slightly different with the belt. They got a little nubbin over there for Shining Hopper to, you know, have it exposed a little bit, and then also a loaded version of the attach caliber. This is our first variant of the weapon that we're getting outside. I mean, like, technically the attached gun and all that stuff, those aren't technically variants, but this is our first variant, much like what they did with Geo and the loaded version with the ride watches in it, so I'm not too surprised here, and I'm happy to get it. But that's it for Shining Hopper. That is, however, not where the blog ended. So, as they had said the week previous, they're going to be talking about Sugozo and Latarata. And honestly, not much to say. Here they are in all their glory. They wanted to touch on how the heads were all fully painted, just like what we expected, just like what we knew. Gotta say, the red over the white, I know that that's a challenging thing to paint myself, so on a mass-produced scale, this is quite the feat. So it does look a little messy, but understand that white paint is really hard to deal with, and this looks as crisp as I feel like it could. Oh, and there's a little color difference. If you'll notice on Latarata's crest, that little area, it's a slightly different yellow, so they were able to paint match that, and I really appreciate that. Let no detail go unnoticed. Next up, we have the legs, and this is more for Latarata, but he has fully painted legs outside of those cuffs, while Sugozo has, you know, silver on the knees-ish area, and then the shins, it's sticker. What do you think? And those are a little less well paint matched. It's fine. I understand. Completely fine. Next up, we have Sugozo's arms, and these actually have connection points at the bottom. So these do come off, and these points allow it to, you know, they allow them to mount to existing stands. And on top of that, they were able to mold in the detail that they saw from the show. He wanted to note that there weren't many reference images or reference video for them to go off of, but they managed to get something good, something serviceable, so I really appreciate this. Alright, next up, we have something very special. The movie special set. Now, this was the big thing that happened last week, and I'm really sad that we missed. But basically, what we're getting from our movie special set is a premium Bandai item that's going to be, say, around $50-$60. I forgot to take a look before I started recording this, but $50-$60, and it's going to come with Burakawani, Tamashi, and Super Tatoba. So, like they had said, this is the movie special set. Now, this is the movie side of it, so we're going to get all the movie exclusive forms here. And each of them are going to come with their own open hands and scanner hands, as they should. But to note, Burakawani has his little fluty thing, which looks absolutely spectacular, and I'm really excited that they put it in there. I'm surprised there's not a separate piece for the combined version of the two halves of his arms, but I mean, you could just put them together, you know, and then hold it there with all the friction. Anyway, and also Super Tatoba, he has the claws extended and retracted, so you have options there. But that's not it. This is, again, the movie special set. Now, we're going to move on to the special side of this set. That being effect parts for Tajadol. He gets the wings. He also gets the claws for his final attack. And then on top of that, we've got Shouta's leg squid things that are all probably PVC, so that's exciting. It looks like I'm gonna have to buy it. And then next up we have Putotira. He has the extended horns as well as the extended back flappy wings, and also tail. So yeah, this all comes in the special set to augment really the second wave of Chronicle O's. Now, oh, yeah, speaking of Putotira, it comes with what Josh has been asking for a while, the purple-eyes Tatoba that appears every now and again when he decides he wants to transform into Putotira. So yeah, that all comes in the special side of the set, as well as 3 stands for the 3 movie forms. It's looking like here that a lot of it is going to be PVC, specifically the Putotira parts and the tentacle legs. So that makes sense. Not much else to say about that other than I noticed it might be PVC, so be prepared for that, I guess. The mounting points are a little... well, they're smaller pegs, so I wonder how that's all gonna work out. Anyway, that's actually it from last week. And that was a pretty big week. Everyone was in celebration while I was at work and couldn't do this. But, hey, I'm not mad, because there was also some news this week that I was coincidentally at work at and missed. But hey, we got our first looks at Shooting Wolf. Now, this guy, they wanted to start talking about the intricate details. And you'll know the intricate details are all stickered up. Now, obviously, the reason being, like, there's tons of small intricate detail that couldn't be replicated with paint. But do know that there is tons of paint on this guy and a lot of very interesting decisions they made here in order to make this like a very palatable experience. So the chest, tons of stickers. You just have to live with it now. I mean, we've had such good waves before. I fully trust that they put in as much paint as they absolutely could have, especially with what they'll be talking about later. And it's looking like you're getting all your details here on the arms, as well as the different shooting wolf mode of the trigger gun thing. I really wish I remembered the name, but he has that little nubbin, and don't worry, it does not hinder any of his articulation, so it works out perfectly. Next up, we've got the legs, and these are better. Don't worry, these are much better. Larger areas of just either paint or gunmetal blue plastic, and then just two little things of stickers. So I very much appreciate it. And then next up, the head, which, you know, I mean, at least they got the two tones of blue, at least for the eyes, and then separated from the head. It just, overall, I think, you know, this is probably a problem with the actual suit itself, but there seems like a bit too much blue here, or gunmetal blue across the face, and it all seems to, like, mesh together. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. Another thing they wanted to talk about, the gun. Again, another thing I don't know the name of, but there's this weird thing, so I'm glad we're getting it. And this is actually not in AI-03, this is the first part of AI-01. So this is basically, or 01, AI-04. So this is basically setting the precedent for that wave. So that means Shooting Wolf, he's getting his, and probably Shining Hopper's getting the axe version of this. But what gives me pause is that this is the only side of this the gun that we are ever shown. Usually they want to brag to us that there is no meat removal, that, you know, they don't have to carve out a bunch of plastic in order to make this happen, but in every single picture that they present us with, none of them are on the other side, and they don't make reference to any sort of meat removal at all, so it's seeming like this is potentially going to be it. There is going to be just a vat on the other side, which, again, we've had a really fantastic run so far, and they've been doing the best they can. If this is their absolute best, then I take them at their word, and this is probably the best we could have gotten. It looks fine. I really like the look of this weapon. But yeah, so let's go back to the detail, specifically how they decided on paint and stickers. So here is a breakdown of the arm, and you'll note that there's a lot of black crossing with blue, that metallic gunmetal blue. And some of this is molded in gunmetal blue, and some of this is painted in gunmetal blue. I didn't notice this right at the get-go until they said something. Now, they wanted to maximize the use of paint and the use of molded plastic, and it was very difficult for them to get this gunmetal blue plastic to work, and it still really paint matches well with the paint. The shoulder itself, that's molded in black, painted blue. The bicep, the elbow, the whole forearm, that's all gunmetal blue and then black painted over it. Even the sort of gun thing mounted on his forearm, that's all painted. Okay. That's actually molded in black. So there are certain parts of this where they decided, it's just those very interesting decisions they made in order to make this the best product that they could. Even here, this is just noting the difference between what is paint and what is plastic. And even the black, like the straps and the little openings there on the forearm, those are all painted black. So they managed to maximize the amount of blue that they could get, while also adding in some black. So there is still lots of paint on this guy. All of that is to say that there is a lot of paint on this guy. It's just hard to see and not as noticeable because, it's something like with special effects, where the best special effects fade into the background and just accent the what you're watching perfectly. And I think this hits that same sort of mark. You don't notice that some of this is painted. You don't notice that some of this is molded. So your eye catches it and just registers it as, oh, this looks right. So please, as much as there are stickers, there is a lot of work and care and paint on this figure, so definitely give those another look. And then next up, they wanted to give us a preview of Dodo Bird's rider form. Now again, another thing I don't know the name of, but apparently, and we're getting a little bit of inside information, even the Soto blog was not given the information that he was going to be in the show early on for some reason. And we know from Freezing Bear that they had a lot of lead time on that guy, and the difficulty was getting the transparency correct. But here, they just didn't have lead time at all. They're still working on this figure, and he just wants to say, hey, he's going to be a little late because we learned about him really late. So, he's, just be prepared to not have him for a while. And you know what? That's fine with me. I really wish this image was unblurred, though, because I do want to see a little bit more into their process. I wonder if they're using 3D printers or SLA printers to produce these figures, or even for this sword, if he's using claw plate here, considering that all of this is white. And you get to see that there are a little bit of black details in there. I wonder if he started painting it a little bit. This is also interesting to me, or if those are like panel line notes that he was taking. I don't know. This is very interesting, a neat little fuzzed out version to pick through. That's not all, though, because they ended the blog with something really, really interesting, something that we will be touching on in the podcast coming out tomorrow, the Soda Pop podcast coming out tomorrow. But they said in the next blog update, they will reveal what the next Soto Chronicle series is. So, guys, in the comments down below, get your speculation hats on and start thinking of what you think the next set is. Now, tomorrow, when we put out the podcast for the latest Soda Pop podcast, we will be giving our thoughts on what they could be, and we ask you on Twitter to let us know what your thoughts on the next Chronicle series is going to be. So once we post that podcast episode onto YouTube, make sure to either reply or at us on Twitter, and we will be sharing your guys' thoughts on the next episode of the Soda Pop podcast, the one that's coming after tomorrow's. So yeah, guys, there's a lot to be excited about. I'm super excited for Soto to continue, and as always, I'm excited about Soto, and I want to hear what you guys have to think about all this news. So tell me in the comments down below, as well as subscribing and liking if you enjoyed this content. Guys, thanks for watching. Keep it juicy.